It started as the perfect summer day. The sun was shining, birds were chirping, and I had spent all morning preparing for the barbecue we were hosting at the home. Megan and I had shared for the past 2 years. Our relationship had been solid for 3 years, and I was excited about our future together. I had a little velvet box tucked safely in my pocket that would change everything. At least that was the plan, until I overheard something that stopped my world in its tracks. Sometimes the crueler truths in life are delivered not with a scream but with a whisper and the quiet tap of a phone screen. Before I tell you how 3 years of love evaporated in 15 seconds, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. And if you've ever had your heart crushed without warning, hit that subscribe button for stories about finding strength when you least expect it. I met Megan at my college roommate's wedding 3 years ago. It was one of those picture-perfect moments you see in romantic comedies. She caught the bouquet, I caught the garter, and everyone joked about us being next. We exchanged numbers that night, and within a week we were inseparable. As a civil engineer specializing in sustainable infrastructure, my life had always been structured and methodical. I designed bridges and roadways that would last for decades, carefully calculating load capacities and environmental impacts. Megan, a marketing executive for a trendy athleisure brand, brought spontaneity and color into my world. Where I was practical, she was adventurous. When I overthought decisions, she followed her instincts. We balanced each other perfectly, or so I thought. After just 1 year together, we decided to take the plunge and move in together. We found a modest 3-bedroom craftsman-style house in a quiet neighborhood with good schools. I remember Megan talking about which bedroom would make a good nursery someday. We had plans, dreams we shared openly with each other. We talked about traveling to Japan to see the cherry blossoms, building our careers to a point where we could both work remotely and eventually starting a family. I saw our entire future laid out before us, clear as the blueprints I created every day at work. Her family welcomed me immediately. Her father, a retired high school principal, would invite me to watch football games, even when Megan was busy with her friends. Her mother taught me their secret family recipes for holiday dishes. But it was her sister Allison who truly made me feel like family. 2 years younger than Megan, Allison was studying to become a veterinarian, and we bonded over our mutual love of scientific precision and problem solving. She would often joke that I was the brother she never had. The proposal had been on my mind for months, but I wanted it to be perfect. 2 months before the barbecue, I visited 4 different jewelers before finding the right ring. It was a 3-stone emerald-cut diamond, set in platinum, that eerily matched the vintage necklace Megan had inherited from her grandmother. I knew the moment I saw it that this was the one. I chose the barbecue as the perfect setting for the proposal for several reasons. First, it was casual enough that Megan wouldn't suspect anything. Second, it would allow me to gather both of our families together without raising suspicion. And finally, the date coincidentally marked the anniversary of our first official date, when I took her to a local jazz festival, and we danced under the stars until the venue closed. My plan was simple, but meaningful. As the sun began to set, I would suggest a walk to the garden gazebo I had built the previous summer as a surprise for her birthday. There, with fairy lights twinkling above us and our families watching from a distance, I would get down on one knee and ask her to be my wife. My brother had even arranged to have a photographer hidden nearby to capture the moment. That morning, everything seemed normal. Megan woke up early to go for a run, then helped me marinate the meats and prepare the side dishes. She seemed happy, even kissing me randomly throughout the morning and telling me how lucky she felt to have such a thoughtful partner. Not once did I detect any hesitation or doubt in her eyes. As guests began arriving around 2 in the afternoon, I found myself constantly patting my pocket, making sure the small velvet box was secure. My parents arrived first, my mother immediately rushing to help with last-minute preparations, while my father set up the outdoor speakers. My brother Jake arrived with his wife and 2 kids, who immediately ran to the backyard to play with the lawn games I had set up. Megan's family followed shortly after, her father bringing his famous homemade barbecue sauce that he swore would make my grilled chicken irresistible. The last to arrive were Megan's college friends Tara and Jasmine. I had always sensed they didn't think much of me, often whispering to each other when I entered the room, or making subtle comments about Megan settling down too early. They were both single, focused on their careers and active dating lives in the city, while Megan and I had embraced suburban comfort. Today they arrived with expensive wine and immediately pulled Megan away for what they called urgent girl talk. Throughout the afternoon, I noticed my family members giving me encouraging smiles and subtle thumbs-up signs. My mother had even teared up while helping me prepare the fruit platter, whispering how proud she was of the man I had become. Everyone who needed to know about the proposal was in on the secret, their excitement adding to my nervous energy as the hours ticked closer to sunset. The barbecue was in full swing by 4 in the afternoon. The backyard was filled with the sounds of laughter, music, and the sizzle of meat on the grill. I had prepared everyone's favorites: marinated chicken thighs, gourmet burger patties, grilled vegetables for Allison, who was vegetarian, and even special turkey hot dogs for my niece, who was going through a phase where she would eat nothing else. I took pride in my grilling skills, having perfected them over years of summer cookouts. Megan often joked that my ability to perfectly char a steak was what sealed the deal for her on our third date. Today I was in my element, spatula in one hand, tongs in the other, manning the massive grill my father and I had assembled as a housewarming project. From my station at the grill, I could observe the entire gathering. My parents were chatting with Megan's parents by the drink table. Jake was supervising the kids at the water balloon station we had set up to combat the summer heat. And Megan was floating between social groups, her phone perpetually in hand, as she documented the day for her social media accounts. I noticed her spending a lot of time with Tara and Jasmine, the three of them, huddled together looking at their phones and giggling. At one point, I saw Megan lift her phone up and point it in my direction, seeming to film me while whispering something to her friends. They all burst into laughter, then huddled around her screen again, typing rapidly. I thought nothing of it at the time, assuming they were just posting about the party. About 20 minutes later, my cousin Sam approached the grill, his expression unusually serious for such a festive occasion. "Hey, have you seen Megan's TikTok?" he asked, his voice low enough that others couldn't hear. "No, why?" I replied, flipping a burger. Sam hesitated, then pulled out his phone. "You might want to see this. It's already getting a lot of views." I wiped my hands on my apron and took his phone. The video showed me at the grill, focused on cooking, completely unaware of being filmed. The caption read, "Point of view. Your practice husband doesn't know he's just the starter model." My stomach dropped as I scrolled to the comments. Tara had written, "He's giving test run vibes FR." While Jasmine added, "Girl, you need the upgrade model before you hit 30. Worse still was Megan's reply to them. "Just building my husband's skills before I find the real one, ja." The physical sensation of betrayal was immediate and overwhelming. My chest tightened, my ears began to ring, and the festive sounds of the barbecue seemed to fade into the background. Yet outwardly I remained strangely calm, as if my body was operating on autopilot, while my mind processed the shock. With deliberate movements, I turned off the gas to the grill, covered the remaining food, and removed my apron. A few people noticed my sudden change in behavior, my mother tilting her head questioningly from across the yard. I simply gave her a small shake of my head and walked into the house. In our bedroom, I stood before the mirror for a long moment, staring at my reflection. Was this what a practice husband looked like? A temporary fixture, useful for now, but ultimately replaceable. With an upgraded model, I reached into my pocket and removed the ring box, opening it one last time to look at the symbol of forever that I had been so excited to present. Inside the band, invisible, unless you knew to look for it, was an inscription. Forever begins today. The bitter irony was not lost on me. I snapped the box closed and walked back downstairs, placing it prominently on the kitchen counter where Megan would be sure to find it. Beside it, I placed my house key and a hastily written note. Found the TikTok. Good luck with the upgrade model. Without speaking to anyone, I walked out the front door to my car. I could see Megan in the backyard through the side gate, still laughing with her friends, oblivious to the fact that her world was about to shift. I didn't call out. I didn't make a scene. I simply got in my car and drove away, my phone already beginning to vibrate with incoming messages. I checked into a hotel 10 miles away, a nondescript chain with a vacant room and no questions asked. Only then, sitting on the edge of an unfamiliar bed, in an anonymous room, did I allow myself to feel the full weight of what had happened. I turned off my phone, lay back on the crisp hotel sheets, and stared at the ceiling, wondering how 3 years of what I thought was love could be reduced to a 15-second video and a cruel joke. The first 24 hours after discovering the TikTok passed in a blur of disbelief and hurt. When I finally turned my phone back on, I had 37 missed calls, 62 text messages, and countless social media notifications. Megan's messages evolved from confused. Where did you go to defensive? It was just a joke to increasingly desperate. Please call me. I didn't mean it. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I called my boss and requested a week of personal leave, explaining only that I was dealing with a family emergency. Then, I contacted Jake, who immediately offered his guest room for as long as I needed it. By the third day, Megan's friends had joined the barrage of messages, attempting to downplay the situation. Tara insisted I was overreacting to girl talk, while Jasmine suggested I should be flattered that Megan was with me despite having other options. Their messages only confirmed what the TikTok had revealed in their world, and apparently in Megan's. I was a placeholder, not a partner. My family rallied around me with quiet support. My mother brought home cooked meals to Jake's house. My father offered practical advice about separating finances and living arrangements. And Jake provided a sympathetic ear whenever I needed to talk. They had all seen the TikTok by now, as it had spread through our social circles, despite Megan deleting it after realizing I had seen it. On day 5, Allison reached out with a message that stood out from the others. I am so sorry about what Megan did. It was cruel, and you deserve better. I told her as much. If you need anything, even if it's just to talk to someone who understands the situation, I'm here. Her message prompted me to schedule a session with a therapist, recognizing that I needed professional guidance to process my emotions in a healthy way. The therapist helped me see that my reaction wasn't just about the TikTok itself, but about the fundamental lack of respect it represented. As I began to reflect more clearly, I recognized patterns I had previously ignored. Megan had made casual comments about my career being solid but not exciting. She frequently compared our lifestyle to her friends who dated investment bankers and startup founders. Once, after a dinner with her colleagues, she mentioned that her boss was surprised she was settling down so young with someone so conventional. I had brushed these comments aside, attributing them to momentary insecurities, rather than seeing them as glimpses of her true perspective. 2 weeks into our separation, I discovered through a mutual friend that Megan had been discussing our relationship as temporary with her friends for months. Apparently, she saw me as a reliable partner while she established her career, but had always planned to trade up once she reached a certain professional level. Learning this was like experiencing the betrayal all over again, but it also provided a strange clarity. This wasn't a momentary lapse in judgment or a thoughtless joke. It was the accidental revelation of her genuine feelings. With this knowledge, I made the difficult decision to officially end our living arrangement. Our lease had another 4 months, but I contacted the landlord and arranged to break it early, offering to cover the associated costs. Then, I coordinated with Allison, who agreed to be present while I collected my belongings when Megan was at work. Packing up 3 years of shared life was more emotionally taxing than I had anticipated. Each item held memories. The coffee maker we had bought on our weekend trip to Seattle. The throw blanket we curled under for movie nights. The matching coffee mugs with our initials. In a box of keepsakes, I found handwritten birthday cards and love notes from Megan, their sentiments now hollow in light of her true feelings. While I was packing, Allison shared that Megan was falling apart. She had called in sick to work multiple times, was barely eating, and had deactivated most of her social media accounts after facing backlash when someone saved and reshared her deleted TikTok. According to Allison, Megan claimed she didn't mean what she said, that it was just an attempt to seem cool to her friends. I wanted to feel vindicated by her suffering, but mostly I felt sad for both of us. Sad that she felt the need to diminish our relationship to impress her friends. Sad that I had been planning a future with someone who saw me as temporary. Sad that 3 years of what I thought was building a life together had been reduced to boxes in the back of my SUV. Megan's attempts to reconcile grew increasingly dramatic. She showed up at my workplace only to be politely turned away by security when I refused to come to the lobby. She had her mother call me to plead her case, which only made me more certain of my decision. She even created new social media posts, lamenting the loss of the love of my life due to a stupid mistake, portraying herself as the victim of cancel culture rather than the perpetrator of the hurt. Throughout all this, I maintained my commitment to no contact. I knew that speaking with her would only muddy the waters. Instead, I focused on rebuilding my sense of self-worth. I joined a rock climbing gym, something I had always wanted to try, but Megan had dismissed as too risky. I reconnected with old friends who had gradually fallen by the wayside during my relationship. I even started sketching out plans for a solo trip to New Zealand, a destination that had been on my bucket list for years. The most unexpected support came from some of our mutual friends. People I had assumed would automatically side with Megan reached out to express their respect for how I had handled the situation. One couple invited me over for dinner and admitted they had always felt Megan didn't appreciate what she had in me. Another friend confessed that Megan had made similar comments about me being a stepping stone at a girls' night months ago, and she had always felt uncomfortable about it. These conversations helped me begin to envision a future without Megan, one where I was valued for who I was, rather than evaluated for my utility in someone else's life plan. The pain was still there, but it was gradually being overshadowed by a newfound sense of self-respect and clarity about what I deserved in a relationship. Exactly 3 weeks after the barbecue, I received a text message from Allison. She cries every time someone brings up your name and is begging for you to come back. I thought you should know she truly regrets what happened. The message stirred mixed emotions. Part of me still cared deeply for Megan, and the thought of her suffering brought no joy. Yet another part of me recognized that her regret didn't erase the truth that had been revealed. People don't typically joke about things they haven't at least considered. In the days that followed, more information trickled in through our social circle. The TikTok backlash had affected Megan's professional life. As someone whose job in marketing relied heavily on social media savvy, the incident had raised questions about her judgment. Several of her influencer partnerships had been put on hold, and she had been passed over for a promotion she had been expecting. More significantly, according to friends, she seemed to have experienced a genuine realization of what she had lost. She had apparently told several people that she had never appreciated the stability and genuine care I provided until it was gone. She missed the little things, my text messages checking if she needed anything. When I was at the store, the fresh flowers I brought home every Friday, the way I remembered details about her day, and asked thoughtful follow-up questions. After careful consideration and a particularly insightful therapy session, I decided to have one final conversation with Megan. Not to reconcile, but to achieve closure. We met at a neutral location, a coffee shop equidistant from our new separate homes. Seeing her was harder than I expected. She looked smaller somehow. Her usual confidence dimmed. Her eyes were puffy from crying, and she had none of the carefully applied makeup she normally wouldn't leave the house without. "I am so sorry," she began before I had even fully sat down. "What I did was cruel and thoughtless. You deserved better than that. You deserved better than me." I nodded, acknowledging her apology. "I appreciate you saying that. I didn't come here to make you feel worse. I just think we both need closure. Is there any chance at all that you could forgive me? That we could try again? I promise I would never take you for granted again," she pleaded, her voice cracking. I took a deep breath before responding. "I do forgive you, Megan. Holding on to anger only hurts me. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. What happened at the barbecue didn't create problems in our relationship, it revealed them. You showed me how you truly see me. And once that's out there, it can't be unseen." "It wasn't true," she insisted. "I was just trying to seem cool to Tara and Jasmine. They're always talking about keeping their options open, and I wanted to fit in." "That's the problem," I replied gently. "You are willing to diminish me, to diminish us, to impress your friends. That shows me where I really stood in your hierarchy of values. And honestly, now that I've had time to reflect, there were many other signs that you saw our relationship as a stepping stone rather than a destination." Tears slid down her cheeks as she recognized the truth in my words. "I didn't value what we had until it was gone," she admitted quietly. "Now I understand what real love looks like, and I threw it away for something so stupid." We talked for nearly 2 hours, achieving a level of honesty that had ironically been missing during our 3 years together. By the end, we both recognized that while the love had been real, the foundation had been flawed. She had never fully committed to me as her future, always keeping one eye on hypothetical better options. And I had ignored signs of her ambivalence, preferring the comfort of what we had to the risk of confronting the underlying issues. As we prepared to part ways for what we both knew would be the last time she asked about the ring, I told her I had returned it, using the refund to book my trip to New Zealand. A fresh start, a long-held dream, finally being realized. She nodded, acknowledging the poetry of the gesture. 6 months later, my life had taken new shape. I had completed my professional engineering certification, opening doors to more advanced projects. I had started volunteering with a program that introduced underprivileged youth to engineering concepts through hands-on projects. I had developed new friendships based on shared interests, rather than convenience or circumstance. The New Zealand trip had been transformative, 2 weeks of hiking through some of the most beautiful landscapes on Earth, meeting fellow travelers, and rediscovering parts of myself that had been sublimated during my relationship. I returned with a clearer sense of who I was and what I wanted from life. I occasionally heard updates about Megan through mutual friends. She had taken a new job in another state, a fresh start of her own. According to Allison, with whom I maintained a friendship, Megan had done some serious soul-searching and was working on being more authentic in all her relationships. The pain of the betrayal had faded, replaced by an unexpected sense of gratitude. Had we gone through with the proposal? Had she accepted out of a sense of settling or temporary contentment? We would have built a marriage on a faulty foundation. Instead, a cruel moment of honesty had prevented a lifetime of being undervalued. I learned that sometimes the hardest decisions are ultimately acts of self-love. Walking away from someone you care about because they don't truly value you takes more courage than staying in the comfort of the familiar. And I learned that I would rather be alone than be someone's practice, run someone's stepping stone, someone's temporary plan, until something better comes along. Have you ever had to walk away from something that wasn't serving you even though it was painful? Share your experience in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you found the strength to choose self-respect over temporary comfort. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more journeys through life's unexpected turns. And if you know someone who might need to hear this message, share this video with them. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember, sometimes what feels like an ending is actually the beginning of something better, something truer, something worthy of the love you have to give.